Chapter 6, Courage, Moral Leadership. Chapter objectives. By the end of this chapter, you should be able to explain the importance of a leader's ability to combine a rational approach to the leadership with a concern for people and ethics, differentiate between ethical and unethical leadership, examine your own stage in moral development and ways to accelerate or moral maturation, apply the principles of stewardship and servant leadership, summarize the importance of recognizing courage in others within yourself. Ethical climate in business. Leaders face pressures that challenge their ability to do the right thing. Obstacles for leaders: personal weakness, self-interest, pressures to cut costs, increase profits, meet demands of vendors, of business partners, and look successful, please shareholders. So leaders are faced with all types of decisions. You see personal weaknesses when you look at individuals that you have who have issues, and some people who have self-interest. And then you have the pressures to make the business efficiency, cut money and save money, consider laying off people and meeting demands of everybody, to include shareholders, to increase profits. It's all types of things that they have to deal with. Act as a positive role model. Signal what matters by the behavior, focuses on employees and customers and the greater good, not paying attention to gaining benefits themselves. Honest with employees, partners, customers, vendors, and shareholders. So when it comes to lead by example, it's a situation where I tell people, you lead by, follow my example, do as I do, not as I say. And their behavior that they display, they know that other people see it, so they're displaying a behavior that is this right type of behavior. If it's something that good leaders always say, if it's something that looks questionable, then don't do it. Focus on your employees and focus on your customers and other people. Do not be self-centered. Pay attention to how people gaining benefits, whatever else. And if leaders, one of the things they do not do is constantly seek personal benefit for themselves. And be honest with people, no matter who we are. You have to be honest with folks. When you're dealing with grown people, you can lie a few times and maybe get away with something, but at some point in time, you're going to get exposed for not being truthful. Leaders set the ethical tone, strive for fairness and honor agreements, share the credit for successes and accept the blame when things go wrong, speak up against acts that they believe are wrong. Now, this right here is when you have true leaders, they are fair. One of the things I'm going to tell you what you have is they don't have favorites on their team. If they have teams of employees, they treat them all fair and they honor agreements they make with them and other people. They share credit for success. This is really big. Share credit for success when it's due. When you have people who contribute as a team and they play significant roles, don't go in front and take all the credit. Share the credit. As a matter of fact, in many instances, is give the credit to them. But when things go wrong, the leader then take the blame as the leader, and shield your people, but take the blame. Realistically, you are accountable. So yes, it is the leader's fault when something doesn't go right. And you got to speak up when things are not right. Even if it's coming from management above you, you have to, this is what we refer to as managing up. Sometimes you have to tell the managers and the executives something's not right. But I can tell you, when you do that, you have to tell them why, and you better be right. Comparing ethical versus unethical leadership. Ethical leadership. So when we look, we see a whole host of things for ethical leadership. So we see the unethical, and this is where I'm going to put my focus on, is arrogant, self-serving, excessively promotes self-interest, provides deception, breaches agreements, deals unfairly, shifts blames to others, diminishes others' dignity, neglects follower development, withholds help and support, lacks courage to confront unjust acts. So when you have an unethical leader, all types of things can go wrong. Not to include just ethical, you could possibly talk about sometimes violations of policy and sometimes illegal. Act like a moral leader. Business is about values and not about just about economic performance. The simple, most important factor in ethical decision making in organizations is whether leaders show a commitment to ethics in their words, especially their behavior. So it can't just be about making money. You want to make money, but you want to have some values about it. You want to go about doing things in a moral way. Are you doing things the right way? And I can tell you this. Sometimes the moral way and the right way might not necessarily be written or defined, but I can tell you this, it doesn't feel right to other people when it's not. And that's one of the ways you can gauge. It just doesn't feel right to people. If you've got 10 people working for you and 5 of them come tell you that something doesn't feel right and they tell you why it doesn't feel right, you might want to reevaluate what you just said or what you just did. For that many people to come and tell you something. Now, are you a moral leader who's going to listen to them? Or are you somebody, an unethical leader, an arrogant leader who says, you know what, just shut up and do what I told you to do? How to act like a moral leader. Articulate and uphold high moral principles. Focus on what is right for the organization. Set the example for others. Be honest with people. Drive out fear and eliminate undiscussables. Establish and communicate ethical policy. Develop a backbone. Zero tolerance for unethical violations. Reward ethical conduct. Treat people fair. So, and do the right thing. So when you're a moral leader, again, you develop a backbone. Zero tolerance for stupidity and unethical violations and stuff. Because here's the one thing you have to understand. Because if you let somebody get away with it once, you just set the precedent. Because you cannot go and punish someone else later for doing the same thing. If you do, that's going to be a problem. So treat everybody fair and honest. And people don't mind you being honest and strict and fair. And when I say strict, I mean by the book. Not overly strict, but following the book. People are good with that because they know where they stand. And when you're ethical, they know where you stand. Unethical people, you got to try to guess what they might do. More than Will's core value. So when we look at this, the more than Will's core value, we look at that. Trust, non-judgmental, accountability, teamwork, and learning. So when it comes to trust, we know what that is. We respect and believe in each other, and we trust each other, and we work together, and there's a common sense of how we feel about each other. Non-judgmental. We deal with the current reality without judgment. We are pragmatic and looking forward. We are not looking to place blame. We're looking at things where they're looking pragmatic, and we're looking forward, but we're trying to work together, and mistakes are made, we'll view them as learning opportunities. Accountability. We live up to our agreements. We hold people to their agreements. We make sure that we require people to do their jobs. Teamwork. Value collaboration. Our success relies on the team. The team is only strong as its weakest link. And you have to make sure that you don't have weak links. Do what you can to strengthen them up. And learn. Learn from your successes, but learn from your failures. Moral leadership, distinguishing right from wrong and doing right. Seeking the just, honest, and good in the practice of leadership. That's the definition. So when we look at the 3 levels of personal moral development, the first is pre-conventional, follows rules to avoid punishment. Second, conventional, lives up to expectations of others. Third, post-conventional, follows internalized universal principles of justice and right, balances concern for self and concern for others. So you look at following the rules, living up expectations, and then following the universal rules and expectations that are laid out there. These are the things that when you think that if you do these 3 things right there, you will be above reproach when it comes to moral development. Changing leader focus from self to others. Now, I can tell you I have seen this happen. I can tell you it's difficult, and the failure rate is very high for people who are actually just straight up self-centered individuals, because a lot of times they don't want to grow. But for those who do, we look at this, how we go from being self-focused to people-focused, is authoritarian leader, participative leader, stewardship leader, and servant leader. So we see at the bottom now here you have obedient subordinates, team players, self-respectable employees, whole employees. If you want to get people changing leader focus from self to others, this is what you do. When you do it, you get whole employees. This is centered on the people, the followers. And that's where it should be. You are not the center and not the focus, they are. And if you do that, you will be able to get a lot of things done. Authoritarian management. So this is what historically we used to view as a strong leader. Traditional leadership, organizational stability and efficiency are paramount. Leaders direct and control their people, set the strategy goals as well as the methods and rewards attaining them. Subordinates are controlled by their leaders. Now, I'm not going to tell you that this is not a time where you would not operate this way, but I can tell you it's not often. And I'll give you an example of one time that might be a good way to operate that way. When you've got young or inexperienced people or people who are learning a new duty or task and they don't know it. So therefore, it requires a lot of involvement and a lot of direction on the part of the manager. Participative management, increased employee participation through employee suggestion programs, participation groups, and quality circles. Paternalistic mindset, leaders determine purpose and goals, make final decisions and rewards. Employees suggest quality improvements, act as team players, and take greater responsibility for their jobs. Employees are not true partners in the enterprise. So when you see the participants, they are allowed to participate and they are allowed to suggest things and provide information to the leaders. So this is better than the authoritarian, obviously. And they're not true partners, but they are allowed to participate in various aspects. Stewardship is a belief that leaders are deeply accountable to others as well as the organization without trying to control others, define, learn meaning and purpose for others, or take care of others. Framework for stewardship. So adopt a partnership mindset. Give decision-making power and authority to act to those closest to the work and the customer. Tie rewards and contributions rather than formal positions. Tie rewards to contributions rather than formal positions. Expect co-work in teams to build the organization. So when you look at this is where you have, it's like partnership. That's the best way to look at it. You allowing people who have the experience and the training, you give them some autonomy to make some decisions about what they do and how they do it. And then you tie the rewards to not what position they have or how long they've been there, but what type of contributions are they making. This is how you build a team, and this is how you make an organization successful. Servant leadership. So leadership in which the leader transcends self-interest to serve the needs of others, help others grow, and provide opportunities for others to gain materially and emotionally. So framework for servant leadership. Put service before self. Listen first to affirm others. Inspire trust by being trustworthy. Nourish others and help them become whole. Remember we saw a couple of slides earlier, we talked about you want your employees to become whole. When they become whole, now you actually have employees who are fully functional and capable of operating at their optimum levels. And by doing that, you must be someone's trustworthy and you inspire that in others. And you help these people go and grow. Courage, the mental and moral strength to engage in, persevere through, and withstand danger, difficulty, or fear. This is something that you hear a lot of times when you see police officers or firefighters, helping people and stuff. You hear about how much courage they showed. Or somebody who saw a kid in the road and they ran out and grabbed the kid before the car could hit him, and someone says they showed courage. This is what they're talking about. They did this in spite of the danger or whatever else, because they knew that they had to. If they didn't, something bad was going to happen to someone. Courage means accepting and learning from failure. Courage means being prepared. Courage means pushing beyond the comfort zone. Courage means speaking up, asking for what you want, and saying what you think. Courage means fighting for a higher purpose. Courage is something that a lot of times, when you have good leaders and good organizations with good cultures, their people will have courage. because they feel that they can say things that helps, it's beneficial and for the good of the team. When you have bad organizations, bad leaders, or a bad culture, courage is squashed. And if you do it, you're viewed as someone who's bucking the system, not being a team player or overstepping your boundary. So there's one situation where it's encouraged, there's another where it's actually discouraged. How does courage apply to moral leadership? Acting like a moral leader requires personal courage. Opposing unethical conduct requires courage. So when you're a moral leader, what you're going to do is you're going to, if you see things that's not right, you're going to speak up and you're going to intervene. And you're not going to allow unethical things to happen. And you are going to step up and do whatever it is you do. Particularly if it's people that work for you, you'll deal with it accordingly because you understand that you don't want to set bad precedents. Whistleblowing. Employee disclose of illegal, immoral, or unethical practices in the organization. So when it comes to whistleblowing, this is basically somebody who says, you know what, I've seen or I've heard or I've witnessed something that was wrong, and I'm going to report it to the appropriate people. Finding personal courage. Belief in a higher purpose draws strength from others, harness frustration and anger. So when you're finding personal courage, it's belief in the higher purpose, draw strength from others, harness frustration, anger. Take small steps. Finding personal, sometimes you got to dig down, and a lot of times I'll tell you, people have to say, you know what, is this a battle that I want to take? Finding that, asking yourself those hard questions, and then doing what it takes to be necessary to find that courage to do the right thing. So in summary, we talked about moral leadership, we talked about acting like an ethical leader, becoming a moral leader, servant leadership, leading with courage. All these things are important, and when it comes to being good leaders, these are different aspects that you will find in good leaders. And when you think of a bad leader, if you've ever encountered one, or if you ever encountered one, think of these things right here, because these are the things that they will not possess. They will not have these characteristics, and they will not operate this way. That concludes this chapter.